Science, economics, history, family, social issues, education, religion, government, or national security. Brannon brings the issues of the day into clear focus through the lens of a Judeo-Christian worldview. And now, here is your host, Brannon Howe.
And welcome to the broadcast on this March 25th, 2025. March 25th, 2025. We're going to have on Mark Mitchell of Rasmussen, David Heinken, David Pine, Dr. Lana, Dean Haskin, Chris Bowers. What are we going to talk about tonight? Oh, I don't know. Let's see here. Signs the U.S. massing B-2 Spirit bombers in Diego Garcia. Are we getting ready for maybe a hit on Houthis or Iran? We'll talk about that. How about, let's talk about, what is it? Signalgate. Should we talk about Signalgate? Let's talk about that because here we go. Here's David Pine. The national advisor, Mike Walls. I wasn't a big fan of his to start with, but he's supposedly really good friends with a deep state liberal Democrat news magazine editor. What does David Pine say about this one? And maybe they have picked, President Trump may have already picked a candidate to get behind to replace Zelensky. So let's get to that all with David Pine. And then let's talk about, I don't know, with Mark Mitchell. Here's one. Obama accused of misusing USAID funds for covert protest operations. Are there social media outlets that have been created for the purpose of really being all about the CIA or the government sending messages for color revolution, organizing flash mobs and, protest? Is there proof that happened? Maybe over in Cuba by USAID, which is really just, I think, a funding front for the CIA. Let's talk about that with Mark Mitchell. How about President Trump? How is he doing on his polling? Let's talk to President Trump talk to Mark Mitchell about President Trump's polling. And then President Trump today signed an executive order dealing with elections. We played a clip yesterday. He's going to clean up elections. He talked about getting rid of machines, one-day voting, ID, and paper. Well, he signed an executive order in the cabinet room today. We'll play it and talk about it. How about this article right here from our friend Amy Meek at the Rare Foundation? Jewish journalist arrested for objecting to Islamic terror symbol at a grocery store. Whew, a chilling precedent? Let's pray it's not. But I want to talk to Dov about that, Dov Hiken. Now, how about any of you following Gene Hackman and that mysterious death? I have been because he was a good actor. He's a great actor in many regards. And I found his death very troubling at many levels. Apparently his wife died like a week before he did in the house, and maybe he didn't know it because of his Alzheimer's. But I was reading the other day, he supposedly has an $80 million fortune. And everyone that he named to run his trust after him died on him, including his wife, of course. You know, that's a really chilling message. A lot of people, they're not being very proactive on setting up their trusts and taking care of their finances. And when they die, a lot of money that should be going to their kids and grandkids to better their life is actually just going to attorneys and court cost. It's a mess. I want to ask the guys, Dean Haskin and Chris Bowers, about Gene Hackman's situation because they've been looking into it and researching it as well. Now, before we do all that, I got to remind you, we're brought to you by you. So I need your support, folks. I need you to go to worldviewtube.com/sponsors, worldviewtube.com/sponsors. Check out all our sponsors right away, folks, because again, these are products I use, and Melissa, we love them. We highly recommend them. We don't endorse or promote products that we don't believe in, folks. The coffee, worldviewcoffee.shop, brand new website, worldviewcoffee.shop. So check that one out because that is coffee that has not been sprayed. Check that out, worldviewcoffee.shop, okay? And Logan loves the creamer that goes with it. That's also got protein. So check all that out. And of course, the foundation, worldviewfoundation.com, worldviewfoundation.com, one of our biggest sponsors, as you know. But they're all there for you, folks. worldviewtube.com/sponsors. Please support us so we can do long format interviews like we're about to do right now with Mark Mitchell, folks. So again, tell all your family and friends, won't you, about this and go there. Now, also, why don't you go ahead and order 20 a pack of 20 business cards, absolutely free. You can get a pack of the 20 business cards absolutely free when you go to our store, worldviewstore.com. Order the pack of 20 business cards, folks. Pass them out. When you run out of the 20, order more. We're now approaching 10,000 of these have been shipped out, and it's a great way for you to help promote us. So please get those now. Get a pack of 20. They're free. You can pass them out to family and friends, people you meet around your town. When you run out, you order more, and help us continue, because we're in a big growth spurt. And guess what? It's because of you. We are a listener-supported network. And if you can't support us financially, you can at least promote us and pray for us. So pray for us, and then get the 20-pack free business cards and promote us. And let's keep growing this network, because there is a battle for hearts and minds. It's a worldview war, no doubt about it. Now, again, all your support makes this possible, so we can do a long format interview like we're about to do right now. Joining me now is the lead pollster of Rasmussen, I don't know. Mark, which one is it? Rasmussen, which one is it?
I didn't get it right until I worked here either, so whatever you want. It's fine. It's not my last name, although sometimes I think maybe I'll change it.
Well, what is the man whose last name? Does he go by Rasmussen?
Rasmussen, yeah.
Okay, we'll work on that.
But he doesn't poll with that name anymore.
He doesn't.
But yeah, we
What's he poll with?
Rasmussen.
What do you guys poll with?
No, we do.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying,
okay.
Yeah, our former founder. But yeah, lot going on.
All right, there is a lot going on. Okay, so we haven't had you on for a few weeks. Tell me, first of all, how are the ratings for President Trump? How are his ratings?
He's doing great, which is pretty crazy considering they tried to have a psychological operation last week where they cherry-picked a couple of polls, Quinnipiac and CNN, that showed that Trump was underwater 11 and 8 points respectively. And that's crap, because my polls have shown time and time again that basically he's at a 50 to 52% approval rating. I think it was 51 today. He's up, I think, +4. That's great. And he earned those followers, and he's going to keep them no matter what, because they tried to even put him in jail and it didn't work. And what I've been saying for weeks is, well, don't watch Trump approval, watch right direction, wrong track. And that's still at 45% today. It was up to 48% a month ago. And now for the very first time, you're starting to actually see the mainstream media talk about that. There was a segment with Harry Enton on CNN where he came out and said, wow, look at this. It isn't Rasmussen, it's Marist and NBC, who also have the exact same right direction we do right now, 45%. And it's the highest in like their 20 years of polling too. Now, of course, their Trump approval is 10 points lower than mine, but their right direction's the exact same number. Like, make it make sense, right? But yeah, people are happy. There was a little bit of a hiccup as far as strong approval versus strong disapproval last week, but it all corrected it itself. So people are a little bit sensitive to the chaos and the stuff that's going on. But right now, it's like, well, people are trying to derail Trump's presidency. In the meantime, like, voters are getting what they asked for. So even like the Democrats, what's kind of wild with them is it looks like almost a civil war going on, where Chuck Schumer, listen, he tried to come out and speak on behalf of Democrats and resist Trump, and he got just utterly destroyed on Twitter. He sort of like withdrew into himself. He did a little bit of virtue signaling around the debt ceiling fight. And then now, he, according to his own side, caved, and they're out for his head. But we have polling that shows that, like, no, actually the Democrats want their own party to moderate. They think that Chuck Schumer did the right thing, working with Trump to avert a shutdown, and they think that they should keep Chuck Schumer and not get rid of him. Just among Democrats, Chuck Schumer is a valuable leader for Senate Democrats. 52% of Democrats say yes. Senate Democrats need to get rid of Chuck Schumer. Only 33% of Democrats say yes. So it's this crazy thing where you have like the narrative is getting built and disseminated by the mainstream media, and it is the dominant narrative on Blue Sky and in Reddit, but it's not what Democrats want. They don't want people obstructing Trump right now.
No, they don't. And, they seem to be wanting, in fact, I think you have it a poll. What are they saying? They want these folks, these illegals, to be deported. A huge percentage want them out of the country. The Venezuelan gang members, all of them. They want them gone, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's just one of many, many components of Donald Trump's platform that is overwhelmingly positive with voters. But even when you sharpen the pencil and get very specific, President Trump has declared the Venezuelan crime gang Tren de Agua, or whatever, I don't know, I'm not Venezuelan, to be a foreign terrorist organization.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that struggles with that. So good for you. Keep going.
And invoke the Alien Enemies Act to deport these gang members. Do you support or oppose Trump's policy? So Trump is in the question. Trump's policy to deport Venezuelan gang members. 64% of voters support that, 47% strongly, only 26% oppose, only 16% strongly oppose. Democrats support it 43% to 43%. They're basically exactly split. So that's crazy. It's like you have this, hero judge standing up for the resistance, getting in the way of Trump with his unconstitutional overreach. And meanwhile, Democrats can't even support him.
Well, your poll shows 64% favor deporting Venezuelan gang members. There you go, right
64 to 26.
That's crazy.
43% of Democrat support and a ridiculous 89% of Republicans, 63% of independents, only a quarter of independents are opposed. And not only that, we asked about, this judge put his neck on the line. What should happen to him? And voters say impeach him, 49% to 24%. So that's a 2-to-1 margin. And even Democrats, only 36% of Democrats say he shouldn't be impeached. That's not a vote of confidence.
No, it's sure not. Now, President Trump, I think it was yesterday, made a comment about, hey, we need to go one-day voting, voter ID, get rid of the machines, go to paper. And we played that comment yesterday with Mike Lindell on and played it. And this is what happened in the cabinet room today. He's got his chief of staff sitting next to him there. And listen to this.
Integrity. We believe that this executive order is the farthest reaching executive action taken in the history of the Republic to secure our elections. Among numerous other aspects of this executive order, this is going to cut down on illegal immigrants on the voter rolls, ensure that the Department of Homeland Security and the data that they have available is being fully weaponized to ensure that illegal immigrants aren't voting. This will include a citizenship question on the federal voting form for the first time. This executive order instructs the EAC to cut federal funding to states that don't take reasonable steps to secure their election. This calls on the Department of Justice to vigorously prosecute election crimes, particularly in states that we don't believe are in compliance with federal law around election integrity. I could go on and on for a while, sir, but compliance with national election day rules, cracking down and investigating and prosecuting foreign interference in our elections, revoking President Biden's Executive Order 14019, which essentially weaponized government to corrupt and pollute our election process. There's a lot in here, but we believe that these are very important steps that we need to be taking as an administration at your direction to ensure that our elections are as secure as they possibly can be.
Okay, you all understand that? Yes. Election fraud, you've heard the term. We'll end it, hopefully. At least this will go a long way toward ending it. There are other steps that we will be taking in the coming weeks, and we think we'll be able to end up getting fair elections. Perhaps some people think I shouldn't be complaining because we won in a landslide, but we got to straighten out our election. This country is so sick because of the election, the fake elections and the bad elections, and we're going to straighten it out one way or the other. And it's an honor to sign this one. To sign all of them, but to sign this one is a great honor.
Well, he's not fooling around, and we need it because if we can't clean up the system, the midterms coming up, in less than 2 years, he's going to become a lame duck president, and he knows that. And I don't think the American people want to go back, and I don't care how much propaganda they shovel. The media cannot convince me that the American people want to go back. Not when he won the way he did in his poll numbers. And so this is such a priority because otherwise it is all going to be overturned or it never will be put into law. These executive orders are great, but they've got to keep electing people that will restore the republic and take these executive orders and put them into law. Otherwise, down the line, someone's just going to overturn them with another executive order. So the fact that he's moving so fast on this, a little over 60 days in, is impressive. What say you?
Oh, yeah, I'm absolutely glad he signed this. We've been pounding the table harder than anybody about this topic. And this is just more voters getting exactly what they want. Like, while we were watching that, I pulled up, would you support or impose enacting a law requiring paper ballots? 60% to 26%. 85% say only U.S. citizens should be allowed to vote. 55% think it's likely that non-citizens are voting. 77% support requiring voter ID, only 17% oppose. And even with the delayed counting, right, 54% to 34%, people say that they're being delayed. 34%, 1 in 3 voters say that they're being delayed because people are cheating. And we've also said that, well, coming into this 2024 election, 66% thought the outcome was going to be affected by cheating. So this was a major issue. And one of the reasons I think that Donald Trump got back into the White House after the 2020 big steal. And we don't have a country if this doesn't get fixed. And now my call to Congress would be, listen, you got to get busy because Trump is serving up the voters what they want. And in my opinion, Congress is not right now. And that has to change. This stuff does have to get put into law. Although, I don't know. I mean, there's so many things that might already affect the 2026 outcome that, like, I might be completely off. I mean, you have Act Blue blowing up. I think this starts.
Wait. What do you mean they're blowing up? What do you mean they're blowing up? You mean they're being exposed, right?
Well, my understanding is that there are multiple state investigations and have been for a while into the Act Blue act of smurfing small dollar donations into campaign coffers. Then there's been some highlight about how some of that money might actually potentially be taxpayer money. I don't know. It was alleged. And then we know that 7 employees of Act Blue have all left, I think, since the beginning of February, one of whom is the general counsel. And I was talking to Peter Bernegger, and he implied, although he didn't explicitly state, that there was probably some reason that we don't know about that the general counsel left that organization. Mm-hmm. And so this is crazy because I'll tell you, one of our biggest polling misses, and Ted, our president, would yell at me for saying that, but I think it was the 2018 election, not the 2020 election, where all of a sudden there was like a massive 3 sigma increase in off-cycle turnout. And what was interesting about that election is that Act Blue went from $800 million raised in the 2016 cycle to $1.6 billion in 2018 in an off cycle. And so I don't know. I think that there's some connection there. So will they have that capability, that ubiquitous upper hand of outraising the Republicans in small dollar donations this time? I don't know. I hope not. I might wind up like completely missing to the left, though, if that's the case. We'll see. I mean, already I have a Republican +3 on the generic ballot. And I don't even think the maps this time out, the House or the Senate maps, favor the Democrats. So you add potentially all the things in this executive order. You add the trouble that Act Blue has. You have increased I think oversight potentially, and I think there's some other components of the administration that haven't had their swipe yet. We haven't seen what a Trump FCC or FEC does in an election season, so I don't know. I'm optimistic, but again, like, you have to get to. They're not just going to give this up, right? Like, there's going to probably be some very drastic actions. They're already having people plant bombs and burn cars and stuff like that. And, some of that, like, you just crazies that have been instigated. Maybe it's not organized. Maybe those individuals aren't funded, but we know they have a massive network and capability of turning people out and funding them and having these protests. And we haven't seen the worst of it yet, and it isn't nearly as bad as it was in the summer of 2020. So I think it's reasonable to think that all of these things are potentially coming. And then you have what's going to happen.
Right there. You think violence is coming?
Yes.
I mean, we already have violence, I guess, with the burning of Tesla, but you think there's more of that coming?
I think the Democrats are stuck between a complacent group of people who are frustrated and want the party to be more moderate so that they can win, and another group of people who think it's either in their best interest to be louder and wrestle control to make the party more radical, and a whole bunch of people that are true believers, and whether they've been radicalized through like internet chat boards and Reddit and that kind of stuff, or whether it's from MSNBC watching, you have Jasmine Crockett out there getting a lot of oxygen, for instance, and she's assaulting people on the floor of the House of Representatives. You go into Reddit, into their biggest political subreddit, Our Politics, and there's people actively calling for people within the Trump administration to essentially overthrow the government. And they were calling a lot for violence on Reddit before the Reddit administrators had to actually crack down on them. So, like, listen, AOC was out there, correct me if I'm wrong, fundraising for Luigi Mangione, I believe. And so there's this aspect of like latent violence. It wasn't our polls, it was RMG, but they came out in the summer and 28% of Democrats say it would have been better if Trump had been shot in Butler. And I forget the number, but I think it was in the mid-20s as well. We ask I'll look it up, is protesting Tesla. You know, people like the First Amendment. People like the idea, even though Elon Musk has a positive favorability rate, which is something the media won't tell you. People support the Tesla protests. But then we asked, Tesla automobiles and Tesla dealerships have been vandalized by anti-Trump protesters. Is vandalism against Tesla an appropriate form of protest? And actually, 20% of the country says yes, including 28% of Democrats. That's pretty wild. And 28% of self-ID'd liberals. So it's like there could be, you know, I mean, we got up to 42% of the country thinking a civil war is likely in the next couple of years. And you have a lot of people out there whose reality is very disconnected. They are living in a different set of facts, one in which they think they have the moral high ground and some type of imperative to win, because Trump's a dictator and he's taking our democracy away. Brandon, haven't you heard that? Haven't you heard about
that's what they
the threat to our democracy?
Yep.
Right. So
Biden hammered that with his red light speech.
Yeah. Now I don't see realistically. I mean, they have a lot of tricks, but the idea of the public opinion swinging back because of Trump overreach or because people all of a sudden get enticed by a Democrat platform, it'll be dirty tricks, not like hard-won majority support, I think, right? And so I think the idea of, like, listen, let's be real. A lot of people have talked about civil war, and we had, I think, a number close to 60% of Democrats who thought there would be a violent outcome if Kamala Harris won, because they've been convinced that MAGA are violent extremists. And so we know that the Democrats project, like that's a major problem, right? And people have been talking about civil war for a long time. Well, if you're in power and you're a leftist, what do you do to prevent that kind of situation? Well, you put your loyalists in law enforcement, positions. You have Soros-backed prosecutors. You put loyalists at the top of the military and do the best you can. But now that there is a conservative Republican, whatever that means, in the White House, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious which side the police and the military is going to come down on unless something crazy happens. And so what they're left with is insurgency. And that's exactly what we kind of have right now. We have potentially an organized anti-Trump insurgency going on right now. They just are doing it at a surrogate, Elon, because they think he's a squishier target.
Mm-hmm. Let's go to a clip real quick before we wrap. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. I guess she grabbed the phone or grabbed Charles Downs, who's been a guest here many times, works with Laura Loomer. Here's the video. Here's what happened today. Here we go.
Hello, Congresswoman.
Horse manure. Well, that sounds like fun.
Wait, Congresswoman Crockett.
But it sounds...
Congresswoman Crockett, you were recently on a Tesla takedown call calling for violence on the 29th.
Here, right?
Would you like to clarify your comments?
As you can see.
Congresswoman, will you condone violence at the Tesla?
Okie dokie. There you go. So I think he pressed charges, if I read correctly. I don't know. That's what I
Oh
read.
yeah, I saw he got scratched by her extensions. I don't know. I would say though that those people, listen, we don't even poll on Jasmine Crockett because she doesn't make the cut. But when I poll on people like AOC, they're still in the single digits. Like this is basically Kamala's party, just because she had all that money and authority pumped into her artificially. And so it's still hers to lose. And your Newsoms and Shapiros of the world are in low teens, close to 10%. And so she's not running to be a national leader. I guess what she's doing is trying to be a social media influencer, and where she's getting all of this virality, right? I guess for lack of a better word, is feeding into this like Trump dictator violent resistance. And AOC's kind of doing it too, I guess, to a lesser extent. But they're trying to build a groundswell of some kind of populist movement based on like an anti-Trump, anti-rich populism that's nebulous, and I guess they'll just pack stadiums and see where it goes.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I don't know if they're trying to inflame the crazies or if it's just, hey, there's a vacuum in leadership, and the more support that we can claw from people now, the more power we'll have when it comes to the bargaining table. I really don't know, but it's getting worse and worse. Like, I don't know if she's going to like get too close to the sun there and get burned. Are they going to censure her or something like that?
Charles tweeted, I just left the Capitol Police headquarters in D.C., where I filed a police report against Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett for assault, battery, and attempted theft of my cell phone, simply because I respectfully asked her to condemn the violence she has been inciting at Tesla showrooms. Well, there you go.
Man. Yeah. I'm such a cynic.
Liberalism
There's probably Capitol Police that have PTSD from less than that, from January 6th. Like, I don't know. I don't know where it's going. But, if you go to Reddit and look around, if you go to Blue Sky, it's a very different set of reality. It's a very different political context.
Let me ask you about the report that, let me just play a little bit about Mike Benz is saying about Obama and USAID and funding a color revolution. Here we go.
This was a scandal during the Obama USAID era. Now, we were running a number of rogue USAID operations in Cuba at the time. By the way, I have to say for the record, I'm no fan of the Cuban government. I'm not even weighing in on whether it's the right or wrong thing to do, in terms of regime change there or, liberating people there from autocratic excess by that government. I'm simply showing the American people where your tax dollars are going and how these things are structured in order to systematically fool you and to fool Congress and to fool the White House. So, for example, this is, and I'll show a couple other things in a second here. But this is Zunzaneo. So you just scroll for a second, we'll start with this, right? So it was an online social media. Just scroll up 1 second. We'll start at the top here. It was an online social networking microblogging service created by USAID and marketed to Cuban users. This was a Twitter knockoff. See, the background of this is 2009, 2014, that period. The State Department and USAID were gangbusters gung-ho on the promise of Arab Spring-style social media revolutions to topple other governments. The Arab Spring was a Facebook revolution and a Twitter revolution. USAID pumped $1.2 billion in, and we sponsored these activist groups and these civil society organizations to learn how to use Facebook, learn how to use Twitter, learn how to use hashtags, learn how to coordinate street protests so that everyone knows where to go, what street to show up on, what kind of slogans to use in order to create the pro-democracy, predicate for it. But the problem was at the time, Cuba did not allow U.S. social media in. So they said, so they're not allowing Twitter in. How can we get a Twitter there, but without calling it Twitter, without making it look like it's coming from the U.S.? So what they did is they took the exact same thing as Twitter, same user interface, same like and retweet button. Zunzaneo is the Cuban slang word for hummingbird. So it means it's bird. It was the Twitter bird, the whole thing. But the whole trick about it was you have to make it look like it's coming from the Cubans if you're going to do this operation. So what you'll see is it began running. So this is 2010. This is right during the Arab Spring. And what you'll see is they took funds, millions of dollars of funds that were concealed as humanitarian funds designated for Pakistan. Now, I don't know if Joe or the audience, if you've looked at a map lately, but Pakistan is not exactly the next door neighbor of Cuba. Right? So, and this is the Wikipedia whitewashing, and we can get into the deeper layers of this, but contractors funded by USAID, I should note the main contractor was Creative Associates International, who's a frequent one. It's CAI, not CIA, I promise. So they concealed in the budget from Senate, from Congress, from the White House National Security Council, they said that these were humanitarian funds for Pakistan. And then they ran that to their contractor, CAI, to, quote, set up a Byzantine system of front companies using Cayman Islands bank accounts and recruiting unsuspecting business executives who would not be told of the company's ties to the U.S. government, according to the AP. The private companies like Creative Associates International designed the network. The idea arose after they were given 500,000 stolen Cuban cell phones that were available on the black market. And then what you'll see if you scroll down is, okay, the network, dubbed the Cuban Twitter, reached about 60,000 Cuban subscribers. The initiative appears to also have had a surveillance dimension, allowing a, quote, vast database of Cuban Zunzanillo subscribers, including gender, age, and receptiveness and political tendencies to be built, with the Associated Press noting such data could be used in the future for political purposes. By the way, these are all quotes from the internal documents, and we can go through that. The data would then be used for micro-targeting efforts towards anti- and pro-government users in Cuba. The developers aimed to, at first, use non-controversial content, such as sports and music, and hurricane updates, by the way. They used hurricane updates in the internal things. You know, basically a humanitarian front that if you sign up to this app, you'll know about natural disasters in the area. Meanwhile, what was the plan the whole time? Once they built up enough subscribers, they would begin to introduce political messages through social bots and encourage dissent in this astroturfing. There's a great Guardian write-up on this. If you go to Guardian Zunzanillo, so you can see how crazy. Just type in Zunzanillo Smart Mob Guardian. You'll see the internal files explicitly said we're going to lure them in with music, sports, and hurricane updates. You have to join. Twitter in Cuba if you want, to be relevant in the culture and see what's trending in sports and music. If you want to be safe in your homes, if you want to know where hurricanes are going, Twitter, Cuban Twitter is the fastest place to get this. It's humanitarian work for, we're saving lives by doing this. But the whole point is once they hit a critical mass, they would create rent-a riots. And they would use this the same way they used it in Egypt and Tunisia to topple those governments under the Obama administration. They would organize smart mobs, rent-a riots. And if you scroll down, there's some, this is a fantastic article, highly recommend. There's a lot more there. But okay, stop right there. Oh, scroll up a little bit. Okay. Documents show the U.S. government planned to build a subscriber base through non-controversial news content, news messages on soccer, music, and hurricane updates. This is in The Guardian. Later, when the network reached a critical mass, perhaps hundreds of thousands, operators would introduce political content aimed at inspiring Cubans to organize, quote, smart mobs, mass gatherings called at a moment's notice that might trigger a Cuban spring, or as one USA document put it, quote, renegotiate the balance of power between state and society.
All right, let's hold there. So they're using what's supposed to be money for humanitarian purposes, and they're directing it toward color revolution. Reportedly just in Cuba. But was it just in Cuba? How do we know they're not doing this in America? How do we know that our own government hasn't done this in America or other countries, or hasn't funded groups overseas to come back in and do this to America? You know what I'm saying? Send the money overseas for this or that, and then you end up finding out that what's coming back in are projects and companies and corporations getting our own government money to set up social media or corporations that brainwash the American people, deceive the American people, and get rent a mobs going and color revolution inside our own country.
Yeah, I agree. Like, this sounds exactly like Reddit, for instance. And I'm not pointing a finger about who's doing it, But it's like, look, oh yeah, you can come and join the weather subreddit. Oh yeah, you can track hurricanes here. Oh, and by the way, there's this political subreddit too. It's the biggest one that everybody joins. And oh, by the way, we basically enforce a loud narrative. And not only that, then we indoctrinate a lot of young people that get funneled into it. And oh, by the way, now there's subreddits popping up to organize some of these riots, like, you know, the whole cute winter boots thing that was going on for a while. And what is also happening is that federal workers are now organizing on Reddit. There's a Fed News subreddit that's just absolutely full of people who have either been fired or on their way to being fired because they're doing Reddit instead of their federal jobs. And, you know, undermining basically the Trump administration. A lot of these people are probably even on the taxpayer dime as we speak. And I'll tell you, like, here's the thing. Voters don't understand this. Voters don't understand that USAID was a taxpayer-funded proxy arm of the CIA doing this stuff. But what I can tell you is, even a year ago, we said that we asked people, are we spending too much or not enough on foreign aid? And people said too much, 57% to 10%. And they might not know that the CIA or other intel agencies has their hand so far up every single one of these mainstream media outlets, but they suspect it. We asked how likely is it that the CIA or other intelligence agencies are ceding political talking points to mainstream media news, and the answer is in the 60s. I think it was like 64% who said at least somewhat likely. And so where we're at is that we know the details. You and I know the details of how big it is, and the people are going to find out. But they already kind of assumed it.
And their gut reaction. And as you say, we already know, you know, here I'm saying, how do we know the government isn't using money to create social media platforms to do this, not just in Cuba, but in America, or sending the money out of the country so that a company outside the country can come back into the country and do this, getting the CIA around their regulations or not to operate in America, which I'm not sure they really follow that. I mean, if you're breaking the law, why do you worry about another law? But reality is, isn't that what they're already doing, as you state, when the government, USAID, is giving millions of dollars to media outlets and then controlling the narrative and then wanting to control who can come into the White House Press Corps Association, as we've dealt with, or tell us, like Reuters, we want to charge you X dollars to get feed coming out of the White House. Oh, but by the way, the feed that's coming from the White House, most of it, we're going to say you can't use it in the U.S. It's basically, you know, you can't use it. It's blocked for U.S. So people overseas who don't pay federal taxes can use your feed when you're inside the White House and you're getting government funding. That's ridiculous. I mean, this whole thing has been proven. Now we're realizing, how is it that AP and Reuters and these groups make it financially? You know, we got to generate 40 grand a month just to cover my cost to keep the network going. And that doesn't count me getting a salary. That's just my hard cost. And I'm thinking, how are these other groups doing it that need to bring in millions of dollars, right? With satellite trucks and buildings here and buildings there and reporters over the ground. Like, who on earth is watching these people that they're generating enough eyeballs and enough advertising dollars to fund this thing? I'm thinking, this doesn't smell right. I don't know, understand their business model. Yeah. The media's dying and people aren't watching them. How do they still have the money to do all this? Well, it turns out my gut reaction was right. I didn't know where they're getting their money, but they're getting it from the government to stay afloat. I'm not getting government money, nor do I want it. But we're finding out the government has been propagandizing us for decades. I mean, Operation Mockingbird.
Yeah, and what's hilarious, Brandon, is that you're like aiming low. You're underselling how bad this entire thing is. This is the only descriptor I can really come up with is freaking clown world. It's clown world because now not only that, right? You have government funding going to all these research institutions. As much as 50, 60, 70% is going to indirect costs, funding massive faculties of people that are undermining our freedoms. Then you have like the whole student loan debacle and the way that the entire immigration system is built up to take people from other parts of the country and supplant our own high-end workers with like foreign tech. Like it goes on and on and on. It's freaking clown world. And what it comes down to is that from a parasitic perspective, the working class of the most successful nation on earth is literally the best host that was ever made. They sucked it and they sucked it dry. They sucked it too much. Parasite almost killed the host. But everybody in the world, the entire consulting industry Like, you're going to have consultancies implode. They're going to have to fire like half the staff at Booz Allen Hamilton, probably. And I don't know how much McKinsey or Accenture, like, their stocks are plummeting right now. And don't even get me started on the research market. Trump was just talking yesterday about some $830 million no-bid contract that went for a bunch of people to write surveys on a cocktail napkin with crayons. All of our polling in all of Rasmussen history has cost less than 100 times that. So what are they doing with the money? And I bet you it's probably some kind of like perpetual recurring contract that nobody looks at. I mean, it's just, it's clown world. Well, the entire thing.
It's, as I say in one of my books, I learned from one of my friends, one of my mentors years ago, the middle class are like a cow. You milk the cow, the elite, they milk the cow, they keep the cream for themselves, and then they give the rest of it to their special interest groups and a bunch of the voting bloc they want to entice, so they stay in power. And that's what they've done. They've milked the cow about dry.
Yeah, they've grifted too close to the sun. That's what they did.
Rasmussen, let's go to show you his. Let me show you his Twitter handle here. I got to show you that so you guys can all follow him. Let me scroll up a little bit here. If my
it's Honest Pollster. There's only one of us.
Mark Mitchell. I had you open. I don't know where it went, but there it is. I want to show your handle. There we go. There we go. Honest Pollster. That's it. He's right. That is it. All right. At Honest Pollster. And then, of course, his website, RasmussenReports.com. RasmussenReports.com, or at Honest Pollster. And he's going to be one of the keynote speakers at our fall conference. And we're getting close to half sold out already, and it's not till fall.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. They heard you were
Awesome.
coming, and they just went right to register as soon as they heard you were going to be there.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I have no idea what's going to happen by then, right?
I know.
Like,
that's right. Nobody's picking their keynote presentations yet. Are you kidding? There's no idea.
Yeah, it might be on like planning Civil War supply lines or how to like conduct enemy insurgent operations. I don't know, right?
But whatever it is,
it's a long time.
Whatever it is, it'll be great. I know that. So follow him on social media, and thanks for being with us, Mark.
Thank you, Brennan.
Mark checking in tonight, folks. Follow him again on social media. All right, folks. Again, I got to remind you, look at that. There was another long format interview with no breaks. You know how many commercial breaks the average network would have taken right in there? Not us. We're all about the content, but we got to pay the bills. So here's what I need you to do. Go to worldviewtube.com/sponsors, worldviewtube.com/sponsors. You know about Bella Grace. I take it every day. I love it. 80 clinical trials behind it. 80. Collagen, but the peptides cut short so your body actually digests it. It's got the astaxanthin, which fights free radicals, and it crosses the brain-blood barrier. The cat's claw, that's from a bark on a vine in Peru. That's an anti-inflammatory. Melissa loves the skincare. The weight management. Bellatrim, all natural, and it's great for your cardiac health as well. It optimizes your insulin, lowers your bad cholesterol, brings up your good cholesterol, helps to normalize your blood pressure, overall good cardiac health, improves your prebiotics, lowers inflammation. These are the things Melissa's written down for me. She did some great homework on it. She takes this every day. So it's not only curbing her appetite, but then all the other health benefits. She does indeed use the restorative sleep every night, 2 gummies to help her stay asleep so that she doesn't wake up and then stay awake for a couple hours. So she's really enjoying the restorative sleep. We love all their products. We only endorse and embrace companies whose products we personally have tested and use and appreciate. Otherwise, we just don't promote them. So please go there, melissahousebg.com, melissahousebg.com. Keep registering for our big event in Milwaukee, April 15th. It's filling fast, but you got to have a ticket. Here's my restorative sleep and our Bella trim right there. All right, so get registered for the big event, worldviewtube.com/ what is it, Logan? Worldviewtube.com/events to register for the big event coming up in Milwaukee, Waukesha. Worldviewtube.com/events. What else we got? Worldview Talk, that's your cell phone. That doesn't track you. That's a satellite phone. That's your solar generator. That's your blankets that block the EMF. There's so much there. So check it all out. Very important, again, that you support us by going to our sponsors, worldviewtube.com/sponsors. Of course, one of our biggest sponsors is right here, folks, the foundation, worldviewfoundation.com. That helps us shove out so much programming for free versus putting it all behind a paywall. The 24/7 stream on demand. Otherwise, I can just put it all behind a paywall. But our foundation comes along and helps put it out as a broadcast service, education, and ministry. So think of us as your Christian worldview alternative to National Public Radio, National Public Television. Again, we don't get government funding, nor do we want it, but you do make it possible. Worldviewtube.com, worldviewfoundation.com, worldviewfoundation.com. We are looking for more regular monthly contributors. Please consider getting, going ahead and joining as a regular monthly contributor. That's so important, folks. We need to add more of you that are regular monthly contributors because a lot of you get busy and you forget to give. But our bills keep coming in. We're about $7,000, $8,000 a month or so for giving away free programming with our streaming and bandwidth. We really need to hear from you guys tonight. Tonight, please, worldviewfoundation.com. Joining me now is our national security advisor, David Pine of dpine.substack.com. David, just when we thought that there was, no more things to worry about related to drones, I find you tweeting today about this, and here's the headline: Pentagon still mystified as drone drama deepens. Objects exhibiting advanced technology continue to fly with complete impunity over sensitive military installations and critical infrastructure. Despite the Pentagon's advanced imaging and sensor capabilities, the nature, purpose, and origin of these enigmatic craft are unknown, raising an array of pressing national security concerns. In an interview with 60 Minutes earlier this month, two recently retired four-star Air Force generals and the Air Force commander overseeing North America's airspace defense begrudgingly admitted that the drones, quote, drones, that loitered in dramatic fashion over key military assets in recent years remain a confounding mystery. Oh, wait a minute. I thought after President Trump came in, we were told they were all ours. Don't you remember that? And the story went away until now.
Yeah, that's exactly what he said. I think even if that was true and it wasn't a cover story for a greater foreign-based threat, I think it was only part of the story. Those drones were mostly localized around New Jersey, but there had been other drone sightings, months prior to that. They were over some of our key military bases in the D.C. area in Virginia. I think it was like Langley Air Force Base. And, previous to that, of course, we had, the mysterious objects that appeared shortly after the Chinese balloon circumvented the entire U.S. back in 2023 that experienced advanced technologies that, we couldn't explain, cylindrical objects that were able to hover in the air, seemingly impervious to wind. Those could have been advanced drones as well. But clearly, I'm not a believer in UFOs. Russia and China clearly have advanced technologies that we are, at least at the unclassified level, are not fully aware of. We have, unfortunately, very limited counter-drone capabilities. And under the Biden administration, our military was not even authorized to shoot those drones down, except in a very, very few instances, such as if they had been over the White House, which I don't think occurred, and perhaps over the Pentagon or STRATCOM headquarters as well.
But the fact that we were kind of led to believe after President Trump came in that this was a non-issue, but it's back, tells us we still are, again, and this goes to the case I've been trying to make, we are still under a heightened state of danger in America. Americans, we're so thankful for President Donald Trump and all that he's doing, but we've got to be vigilant. President Trump is human. President Trump is battling the media, the judiciary, the Marxist Democrats. He's got his hands full, okay? And we have got to be vigilant and ready and prepared because President Trump doesn't have the supernatural ability to stop an EMP attack. He's working toward different things that we're sure in agreement with, but he can't just supernaturally all of a sudden say that's not going to happen. Not when if we have drones coming into the country or that are here that are again of enemy states. This is a real issue, and goes to the case I've been trying to make here with you in our interviews the last 2 weeks. Is I still think we're in just a heightened state of danger as we were during the Biden years, but in different ways and for different reasons.
Well, you're absolutely right. And Russia or China, I can guarantee you, they would not tolerate, U.S. or Western type drones or unidentified drones, of large size, impervious to electromagnetic countermeasures such as, just GPS jammers that normally, take down drones to operate over, Russian or Chinese military bases. So, we're kind of alone, I think, in the West in allowing, likely enemy, reconnaissance and surveillance vehicles that might have some kind of combat capability, perhaps a conventional EMP that could be operated in the event of, a military crisis or conflict operationalized against the U.S. military, or perhaps even against, the D.C. area or the Pentagon. So this is something that I'm hoping that the Trump national security team is strategizing against, developing and deploying countermeasures and providing the legal authorizations necessary for the U.S. military to shoot these kinds of drones down at will, without presidential authorization.
All right. What do you know? Well, let's go to what is it? What is the app they were using? Was it Signal? Let's go to Signalgate. I'm going to call it Signalgate. How about that? Every scandal's got to have a gate behind it. So let's call this one Signalgate. All right. Well, this brings up the issue, and here's what you tweeted: the fact that President Trump's national security advisor Mike Walls is besties with a deep state liberal Democrat news magazine editor, who he has on speed dial, that continues to claim that President Trump is a Putin puppet president, is perhaps the most troubling revelation. Oh, you're calling it Signalgate too. National security breach. Okay. A lot of us weren't really happy with this pick of Mike Walls. Leo, I don't think was. I wasn't. I don't know how you felt about it. But yeah, he's got this deep state journalist on speed dial. And I guess now President Trump is giving him some cover. I guess they're saying a staffer did it. But again, if the staffer is using his phone to do it, how did this guy get in that conversation, number one? But number two, why is this guy on speed dial with this deep state writer that's accused President Trump of all kinds of absolutely horrific and, false things? I mean, this is troubling. You think he should go? You think he should resign?
I do think he should resign. There's enough questions in my mind as to, how this occurred and mistakes that really, should not have been made by the national security advisor of the United States, and Trump's entire national security team, was trusted him to create, OPSEC, operational security, such as of a kind that there wouldn't be these types of leaks or journalists or anything else like that. But, probably most concerning is most of the folks on that Signal chat were abroad at the time the Signal chat was going on. With Wickoff, of course, was in Moscow, and I didn't see that he contributed to the chat, or at least it hasn't been reported. But I can tell you, it's we've all known, really, the reports have been out there that Russia is the premier cyber power in the world. They have the greatest cyber offensive capabilities in the world, followed closely by China, and then of course us in third place. But they have their ability to spy on these types of devices, are equaled probably only by China. So without question, Russia and China were able to read, what was going on in the Signal chat. And, thankfully it appears that there was nothing, top secret. I watched the hearings today, the Senate Intel hearings, in which the CIA director, John Radcliffe, said that in his opinion, there weren't any, classified information shared on the chat. And I'm willing to accept that at face value. But it could have been very different. We could have been discussing war plans against China. What if they were moving on Taiwan and Hegseth thought things were secure that he could share our war plan against China, and then China was able to countermand that, and tens of thousands of U.S. soldiers were killed as a result. So, like you, I haven't been too happy with Waltz. I mean, he's certainly performed better than expected. Both he and Rubio, I strongly suspected, given their neocon, lifetime records, could be in a position to sabotage peace talks with Russia. And I think that to a limited extent, they actually have done that. Certainly with the instance of trying to get Russia to accept Ukraine's ceasefire terms, although that didn't really amount to much. I think it's just really delayed the whole peace process in general. And so, that's really the big reason why I'd love to see him replaced by someone like Elbridge Colby, who has a big fan in Vice President J.D. Vance.
Now, I cannot confirm this, but TWC is reporting, I think it's like the war zone, signs U.S. amassing B-2 Spirit bombers in Diego Garcia. The U.S. is flowing in air power air power into India, the Indian Ocean outpost, as threats to Iran escalate and the bombing campaign against the Houthis grinds on. Again, I haven't been able to verify this. This is a fairly breaking story. What are your thoughts on it? Have you heard about it? Do you think it's true? And if so, what does it mean?
Yeah, I do think it's true, despite the fact that it's only been confirmed by two sources, including the source you just showed. So I will say that these types of deployments are, while not routine, they're not entirely unprecedented either. We did the same thing. We deployed 3 B-2 Spirits in 2020 under President Trump, likely as a potential kind of strategic partner posturing against Iran. Which would be the most likely target, of course. So I think that right now it's just strategic posturing. It certainly could be the prelude to an air and missile campaign. But as we've discussed before, I think that the Trump is way too smart to stage an air and missile strike directly against Iran, because that could go sour fast with their super EMP satellites and their intermediate range nuclear missiles.
All right, let's go to another tweet put out by you today. You write, during a Senate Intelligence Committee hearing held this morning, Senator John Cornyn claimed, quote, the incoming chancellor of Germany has talked about the possibility that Germany might share its nuclear weapons with Ukraine and suggested that the UK be part of that, end quote. Since when did Germany get nuclear weapons? Of course, the answer is that it doesn't have any yet. Lieutenant, is that LTG Grouse?
It's Lieutenant General.
Okay, thank you. Who serves as the director of the Defense Intelligence Agency, failed to correct Cornyn when asked. Needless to say, if the UK or France were to deploy its nuclear weapons in Ukraine, it would lead to a nuclear war with Russia. Well, isn't that, they want escalation here, but is Macron and are these guys dumb enough to do this? Really? You think they'll go that far?
Well, I think the person that was exposed that was dumb enough was Cornyn. Senator Cornyn believes that Germany has nuclear weapons. Germany has had kind of a non-nuclear policy since forever, of course, since the end of World War II. Eisenhower trained them and indoctrinated them to be, German civilians to be, pacifists. And that's kind of bitten us in the butt. If we had followed the Patton route and had the Germans fight alongside with us to liberate Europe from Red Army occupation in 1945, I think Germany would be a very solid, and strong defense partner, likely with a small nuclear arsenal. But the fact is, they don't have a nuclear arsenal, and that's why they're going apoplectic about the U.S. Pulling its troops out of Germany potentially, making its security guarantees conditional upon NATO member states that don't, spend at least 2% of their GDP on defense. Perhaps even withdrawing our nuclear weapons from Western Europe. I think that's an increasing possibility as well. And so they've gone to the French and told the French, hey, we'd like you to replace the U.S. and deploy your nuclear warheads in Germany. And of course, Poland's asking for that as well, either from the French or the U.S. and planning on building its own indigenous nuclear arsenal. Germany's really at the early stages of that. I think they certainly could develop a nuclear weapon within 1 to 2 years if they made that decision, but all my sources are telling me that they're not even close to that. So, but the very idea that Cornyn was claiming that the German chancellor, was wanting to repeat a nuclear holocaust on Germany by deploying non-existent German nuclear warheads in Europe, in Ukraine, I think was pretty disturbing.
One last one. You tweeted today about speculation who President Trump might pick as the new Ukrainian prime minister. You think this is a good pick, this lady Yulia?
Yeah, Yulia Tymoshenko. I mean, she had a lot of even neocon support when she was prime minister of Ukraine. I think it was probably 2006 to 2010. In that time frame, it was before the the Ukrainian president was ousted, Yanukovych, of course, and she was actually jailed by Yanukovych and then subsequently prosecuted by Zelensky himself because she had the nerve to run against Zelensky and win 12% of the vote or thereabouts. Zelensky, of course, won, I think, 76%, and Zelensky and Poroshenko, who was the incumbent president of Ukraine, in her split the rest, the other 24%. But she is definitely posturing to be the leader, the next Ukrainian president, and she's been doing the best she can to explore the contacts with the Trump administration. I think, although this article was reported by a Russian news agency, I think it's very likely that she is the Trump administration's preference to replace Zelensky. And it was very interesting the way that the Russian media source said that she could replace Zelensky because there's a provision in the Ukrainian constitution that the Speaker of the Rada, which is the equivalent of the U.S. House of Representatives, the Ukrainian Parliament, is the first in line to replace the president. It's not the Ukrainian Prime Minister; it's the Speaker of the House, essentially, that would replace Zelensky if that position were to be declared vacant. And in accordance with the Ukrainian constitution, in fact, the Speaker of the Rada is legally the acting president of Ukraine today. But we know that he hasn't kind of said so, and they've kind of given Zelensky a pass to move extra constitutionally to violate the Constitution.
All right. So in closing, what do you think? Where are we at on a global scale? How concerned are you tonight?
Well, I mean, I'm happy to see incremental progress continue. Of course, the U.S. delegation met with the Russian delegation yesterday. They met with the Ukrainian delegation Sunday and either last night or today, our time. And they apparently got a Black Sea, ceasefire. That was actually, it was like 70% of the way done a while back. But then Ukraine, I think they launched a terror attack on Russia, or they invaded Kursk, and then Russia decided to they were not going to negotiate any kind of partial ceasefire so long as Ukraine continued to invade Russian territory. But I think I think the pace of negotiations has been really very minimalistic. So I've been disappointed with that. The overall strategic picture in terms of, Trump wanting to do the right thing and having the right ideas is very encouraging. But once again, we have, potential Chinese blockade of Taiwan that could materialize as early as, 10, 14 days now. Just in early April would be an ideal time to make that happen. And we probably only have, days warning. I mean, they could stage another, invasion rehearsal like they did a couple times last year with 150 ships and then 90 ships of the PLA Navy and Coast Guard and Maritime Militia, and convert that into a full blockade with zero warning to us. So that remains a threat on my radar. There's nothing imminent that I've seen, but there certainly is that possibility.
Here it is, folks. Follow him on X. At AmericaFirstCon, and then dpine.substack.com, dpine.substack.com. David, as always, thank you for being with us. We sure appreciate your analysis and education.
Thanks, Brad. I appreciate you having me on.
You too, my friend. David Pine checking in. Folks, do not forget about the fact that we have our national conference coming up. I want to take you to worldviewstore.com. Our national conference coming up this fall. We only have 350 seats, and we already have 100 of the seats gone. 100 seats all gone already between those who've registered online and those who have registered through Melissa over the phone. Now, again, we have all the details there, the hotels, and I urge you to book your hotels early if you can. A lot of activities happen in the fall in the Mid-South with soccer and all that. So book your rooms early. All the details, Mark Mitchell, Gordon Chang, Alex Newman, Chris Martinson, Dr. Lana, Sidney Powell, myself. These are all your speakers, folks. So please register now because there's only 350 seats available and 100 are already gone. October 3rd and 4th, it's a Friday night and a Saturday. If you're a Vault member, you'll be able to live stream it if you want to just watch it from home, but you have to be a Vault member. worldviewtube.com/vault, worldviewtube.com, excuse me, /vault. Let me take you over there real quick. worldviewtube.com/vault. That is where you, oh, that's not it. I went too far. Let's see with that URL. Let me do this. Vault, worldviewtube.com/vault. There we go. Now it's loading. It'll take a minute. There we go. There it is. worldviewtube.com/vault. For as little as $7.99 a month, you not only get to live stream like our April event coming up in Milwaukee, April 15th, but our October event. We also have some other special events coming up that we'll be telling you about soon that will be for members only. And you're going to want to be a part of it. It's going to be pretty cool. So again, $7.99. Don't you think we're worth $7.99, folks, to support our work? Because this is a big part of our general operating budget. And you get 35 years of my radio shows, TV shows, ebooks, audiobooks, transcripts, and live events as well. So please check it out. worldviewtube.com/vault, worldviewtube.com/vault. Joining me now is Dov Hankin to talk about several things, including the testimony by Governor Huckabee today before committee on Capitol Hill. But also, how about this one right here? The Rare Foundation, Amy Meek. I was just texting with Amy the other day. Hopefully we'll get her on someday soon. She's not doing a lot of media appearances right now, but we sure follow her website. Jewish journalist arrested for objecting to Islamic terror symbol in U.S. grocery store. A chilling precedent. An exclusive interview. We'll talk about that. And then how about this one right here? Also by the Rare Foundation, urgent warning, 2 radical imams relocating to Texas to build mega mosque, convert churches, and accelerate Islamic takeover. Texas is being taken over. We've already got Yasser Qadi down there, and now these guys, I think, are going from Colorado to Texas. It looks like the governor of Texas is going to just let Islam take over, despite his tweets about not wanting Sharia. We're not going to let this happen. I think he's frankly full of hot air until he proves otherwise. But then again, I think he's kind of aligned a little bit with the World Economic Forum, isn't he? But anyway, joining me to talk about all this and his personal friendship with the soon-to-be, I think, ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, is Dov Hankin. Hi, Dov. Welcome back to the broadcast. Thanks for being with us.
Always great to be with you, and this is very, very exciting with Mike Huckabee. I had the pleasure over the years to be with him, to literally fly with him, on the plane, sit next to him, and spend time in Jerusalem at so many different locations. I mean, he is in a class all by himself. He is absolutely amazing. He totally gets it, what Israel represents to the world, what the Jewish people represent to the world. Great American, great all around. I mean, this is, I got to tell you, you couldn't find anyone better to be the ambassador of America to Israel than Mike Huckabee. No Jew, no one. He is really at the front line. God bless him.
Well, he's been very consistent, I think, for a lot of years on his Zionism, without a doubt. I want to go to a comment he made. I think this was today. Was it not today or yesterday? When was this made, this comment? Was this hearing yesterday or today? Does anybody know? I don't know.
Today. The hearing
was today. It was today. All right, so this is breaking news. Here we go. We're going to hear it all for the first time.
Israel, in many ways, is a reflection of our own heritage and history. It is the Judeo-Christian law that there is a right and that there is a wrong, upon which all of Western civilization is built, but certainly our system of government. There is no country across the globe that more mirrors our own struggle and our own level of democracy than does the State of Israel. And it's one of the reasons that it is a natural ally. The spiritual connections between your church, mine, many churches in America, Jewish congregations to the State of Israel, is because we ultimately are people of the book. We believe the Bible. And therefore, that connection is not geopolitical. It is also spiritual. And to ignore that, to deny that, would be to make it very difficult for us to ever understand how to go forward in a relationship with them.
Yeah. And I think this was this excuse me for not knowing, I should know. This is a confirmation hearing, so he hasn't been confirmed yet, correct?
No, but guaranteed it's happening. There's no question. Even there wasn't that much questioning from Democrats. I think everyone realizes he's in. No doubt about that. But I got to tell you, Brendan, listen to those words. I mean, he so gets it. He so understands it. It's just beautiful. Those words could not be more perfect in terms, as I said earlier, what Israel represents, what America represents to the world, and that relationship. Boy, those were.
Well, listen to what, if you like that, listen to what he said about Hamas. Here we go.
That Hamas will have no future in Gaza. It can't. This was not simply a cold-blooded murder in which people came across the borders and shot innocent people. They massacred them. And they did it in the way that was most physically painful and in the way that was most personally humiliating. And worse, they videotaped themselves doing it because they were proud of it. And they published it with pride. And they announced repeatedly that they would do it again. Hamas is not a government. It's not a standing army. It is a terrorist organization, and they acted like it. And they must be treated as such. And if confirmed, I would hope that this unfortunate, horrific war that has resulted in many, many deaths, including Americans, the taking of hostages for a longer period of time than even the hostages in 1979 were taken during the Iranian takeover, that all of that could come to an end and there could be accountability for what was done to Jewish people on October the 7th of 2023.
Now, what disturbs me, Dov, is that I don't know that there's that many people in Congress, frankly, some of them, but not too many people that understand the history of Hamas. They don't understand the connection between Muslim Brotherhood, founded in 1928, Hamas, founded in 1987, CARE, Council on American Islamic Relations, founded in 1994. They don't understand how these groups work together. They don't understand, some of them, how they have subverted America and are infiltrating and have infiltrated America. Some of them do, because some of them are up there, I think, are funded by them. They're supported and funded by them in their elections. But most members of Congress do not understand or know what you and I know when it comes to Hamas. They think that's over there. There's a former CIA contractor, I think her first name is Sarah, who has been out and been interviewed and warned, as we have done here as well, independently from her, that we believe an October 7th event is being planned for America. We go back many, many years, 2007, 2008, warning about attack was done in a former Soviet Union, in Russia. There was a school that was attacked, and over 300 kids died, and they rigged the gymnasium with explosives. And when a group of special forces went in there to free those teachers and students, they died. There was a detonation. this, we said back then, many experts did that we interviewed, was practice for doing this in other places, including America. So I'm concerned that we're going to have our own October 7th event. And I think when Americans think, oh, that's over there, they don't realize this is coming. This is coming to America, I'm afraid. And these people have already gotten in. They're already ready. What say you to that?
Well, you're absolutely on target. Anyone who doesn't appreciate what you just said and recognize, God forbid, that there are people out there, look, we watch them in the streets of America, filled with unadulterated hate towards America. America being the big Satan, Israel being the small Satan. No one should doubt, God forbid, at your own peril, that there are people out there who would commit horrors upon Americans if they could get away with it. And our government must take these things very, very seriously. You're absolutely right. You've got a lot of crazies out there. These are people who are so committed to their ideology, to what they believe. They believe their God. This is what their God wants. That when you murder Americans, when you murder innocent people, this is a great victory for Islam. So we better be awake. We better be ready. We better, again, that our government, and thank God we have Donald Trump and a lot of the great people in the administration, but we need to never take for granted that, that's thousands of miles away. We don't have to be worried about it. We're okay. That's just not true. It is not complicated and difficult to commit horrible acts of terror in America if we let these monsters get away with it.
Yeah.
So you're right on target. You're on target.
The attack in Beslan, which it was in Russia, if I'm correct. Yep, Russia. That was September 1st, 2004. Let me show you a few pictures real quick. Here's the school. And I guess this is one of the gyms. I guess this is where it occurred. And here's some of the students that died. So again, a lot of Americans don't even know about this. It's not something that they know about. They don't realize this kind of thing has been done. And over 300 died. It's
right.
Just absolutely horrific. Now, with that being said, I am concerned about this one here, okay? So when people see certain things and then they ask questions, they're accused of Islamophobia, hate speech. Now, I wasn't there. I don't think there's a video of what happened, but here is Rare Foundation, Amy Meek, with an exclusive interview. A Jewish journalist, Sloan Rachmuth. Do you know Sloan, Dov?
No, I don't.
Okay. Well, I follow her on X. Holly Springs, North Carolina. Sloan Rachmuth, a Jewish journalist and political commentator, was arrested at her home in front of her terrified children on November 3rd, 2024. Her alleged crime? According to Rachmuth, she objected to a supermarket employee at Harris Teeter wearing a controversial keffiyeh, a political symbol widely associated with Hamas and its ambitions to destroy Israel and the Jewish people. Okay? Apparently, she walked over and asked her, is it Halloween? Why are you wearing this? What's going on? And I guess somebody in the school or the store, I guess this happened on October 31st. She entered there in Holly Springs, where she shopped regularly for 7 years. According to her, as she checked out, she noticed an employee handling food wearing a keffiyeh, a garment long associated with the Palestinian Liberation Organization, frequently worn by Hamas militants and supporters. In America, the keffiyeh has been used as a rallying icon for violence against Jews during demonstrations. Aware of its political significance, Rachmuth says she politely asked the employee, it's Halloween, are you wearing this as a costume? And I guess the employee replied, no, it's for Free Palestine. It's a political statement. Instead of addressing I guess she was deeply uncomfortable with a store employee openly supporting an ideology that symbolized the destruction of Israel and the Jewish people while handling food. So while at the store, she escalated her concerns to store manager, expecting Harris Teeter to uphold its policy against political speech in the workplace, instead addressing the hostile work environment created by an employee wearing a symbol of Jewish oppression. She was kicked out. told, like it or leave it. Well, apparently then she turned around and got arrested in front of her kids and charged with, I guess, hate speech, a hate crime. When I saw this story, I thought, well, this has to be over in Europe. This has to be in Europe, Adav. Apparently this happened right here in the United States, in North Carolina. Your thoughts?
Well, obviously insane. And I got to give this person tremendous credit for speaking out. You know, most people turn their back and they just walk away and they don't deal with the hate symbols and the dangers that they represent. So I give this person tremendous credit for standing up and doing the right thing. And why this person would be arrested is incomprehensible. It just doesn't make any sense.
Suggesting that it's a bias-motivated offense. Anti-Islamic.
That you know what? That is so freaking ridiculous. That is so outrageous. People need to be tough. People need to stand up. People need not to be afraid, and we must work with each other to be tough. You know, unfortunately, like I said before, a lot of people, they saw the same thing, would just walk away. They wouldn't say anything. They'd come home and complain to their husband or wife or friends. But this person actually reacted. God bless her for that. And getting arrested is just, it's a sad commentary that could be happening. Makes no sense at all.
Well, you know, the students can wear these keffiyehs, they can chant, they can scream and holler, and that's all considered, you know, political speech and whatnot, as they, you know, block Jews from going into their schools and whatnot. And
you can support Hamas and Hezbollah and Iran, you know, terrorist organizations. That's fine, no problem. But, you know, someone speaks out and someone objects to these symbols of hate and they get arrested. Crazy, insane.
The article at Rare Foundation goes on to say the officer obtained an arrest warrant accusing Rockmuth of using her cell phone, quote, to harass, embarrass, or terrify, end quote, the employee. The police arrived at her home with an arrest warrant in hand, leading to whom what many believe was an effort to humiliate her publicly. She was shocked and confused by the officer's presence when she demanded the reason for her arrest. The officer replied, quote, something you did made her uncomfortable, all right, end quote. There was an arrest video. Let's see this. Let's watch this. I didn't realize there was a video. Let's watch this. Let's say, oh, no, don't take me to a commercial.
What
yes,
a simple but totally brilliant.
All right, so we're going to let that pass. We're going to let the commercial pass, and then we're going to hopefully get right to the commercial. We got to sit through 2 commercials to get past it, but it's going to be worth it, I think. All right, now here we go, guys. Here we go. Let's see. You guys ready? You got the audio up? Here we go.
Okay. Come out.
That occurred, I think, like 3 days ago. There was a post that she posted on social media. And due to the circumstances, that female felt threatened and harassed. So it does all fall under the elements of cyber stalking.
I know the law well, yeah.
So that is the charge that should be the warrant.
But harassed, wearing the keffiyeh in public.
I get it, but that's her religion. She can do that.
It's a keffiyeh, but a keffiyeh is very different from a hijab.
Right, and I understand.
It's a political statement.
I get that, but due to the circumstances and the way she felt.
And I respect you, and I'm just saying, what I'm telling you though is that it's part of political speech to talk to us.
Wow. Closing comment on that one real quick.
I got to tell you, I don't know whether to laugh or cry. That is the most outrageous behavior. You know, I love police officers, but why would they arrest her? I'm going to try to get in touch with this person. You know, she may have a cat. I mean, it makes no sense. That's all I could say. It makes absolutely no sense. Not justified. I mean, it was all so peaceful and quiet. No one raised their voices. You arrest someone in a situation like this.
Well, I mean, if it was that out of control, they probably would have produced video footage, because I'm guessing that store has cameras rolling, right?
Yeah, it was so peaceful. I mean, half of New York, half of America would get arrested, you know, behaving. I mean, she didn't do anything wrong, for God's sake. I don't get the police officers doing this.
Let me go to this one real quick. 2 radical imams relocating to Texas to build mega mosques, convert churches, and accelerate Islamic takeover. I think these guys are coming, I want to say they're coming from Colorado when I read the article. Yeah, one of the 2 men interviewed moved from Colorado to Dallas. And I guess they thought there was nothing in Texas but a lot of cows, white people, and desert. But what we saw were the Muslims and realized Texas has Islam. And they're announcing their upcoming move to 2 well-known and controversial Muslim figures. And I'm sure you're familiar with who these guys are because we've covered them over the years. And they're going to be helping, I guess, to spread Islam. Texas is between this and Dallas and Yasser Qadhi's thing. Texas is being taken over, and I don't know what the governor of Texas is doing, but it doesn't appear to be too much. But this is all under the protection of religion. Let me tell you something. They said in the Muslim Brotherhood explanatory memorandum, they would use our own hands to destroy our country. They're coming here, I think, to use freedom of religion to destroy our country and infiltrate. But this is not just a religious system. This is a revolution with Sharia, Islamic law, and I think breeding terrorism, my opinion. Your thoughts?
Brennan, this is exactly what's happening all over Europe, in England, in France, in Belgium, on and on and on. You know, you and I are not against anyone's religion.
Right.
We're against a religion that preaches hate and results in innocent people being murdered. That's what it's all about. And that's what our concerns are all about.
Well, and of course, and then you and I would defend the moderate Muslim who doesn't want to be involved in jihad, right? What they would call the hypocrite. What they would call the hypocrite because they won't be involved in it or fund it, right? So there you go.
Absolutely, Brandon. Look, we've got a problem in this country. We see it in the streets of America. Those who are demonstrating, again, freedom of speech, 100%. But when they are demonstrating for Hamas and Hezbollah and the Houthis, etc., those are dangerous, dangerous people, and we need to treat them in such a fashion. It's about protecting America. It's about protecting our families.
Founder of Americans Against Anti-Semitism, Dov Hikian, you'll find him on Twitter, on X, Americans Against Anti-Semitism. Former legislator in New York and a regular friend of this broadcast network. Thank you, Dov.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure.
You too, my friend Dov, checking in tonight. Joining me now is Dr. Lana for our Nutrition and Health weekly chat. Hey, how about this? There's a study that shows replacing junk food with whole foods reduced violence by 80% in prisons. How much of this ADHD, ADD, hyperactivity, how much of that's impacted by what we are eating? How about this one? Here's another one. Georgia man wins $2 billion lawsuit in Roundup weed killer case. We're going to talk about that. And how about this one here? That is the story. Popular drinks linked to cancer in a shocking new study. Let's talk about that. These sugary drinks increase risk of oral cancer. Joining me now is Dr. Lana. Hey, Doc.
Hello, Brandon. Always a pleasure.
Great to have you back with us. I mean, where to start? There's so much in the news. But let's start with this one right here. I want to play this video about replacing junk food with whole foods in prisons. Listen to this, please.
In prisons, if you give people a healthy diet in prisons, they will reduce violent crime in the prison by 56%. If you add a vitamin supplement, it goes down by 80% because they're all nutritionally depleted. I mean, I had a patient, not a patient, he was a guy who was in jail. He wrote me a handwritten letter years ago. He said, I followed your program in jail. I realized my behavior was so violent my whole life. And when I changed my diet, I became a completely different person. I realized it was what I was eating. And now I'm so thankful for having my life back.
So you think our diet also determines our behavior?
Absolutely. There's clear evidence about that. I was just reading a study the other day that showed that people eat a lot of carbohydrates and sugars and starches have much more violent behavior. We know that people eat refined oils, which we now have 10% of these as our calories from soybean oil. It's in everything. It's not necessarily put in our food. It's in every packaged processed food. That has led to increase in homicides and violence and suicides around the world. And we've gotten higher on these refined omega-6s and low on omega-3s.
Wow. Dr. Lana, respond to this, please.
Absolutely. And so interesting. I believe that is Dr. Mark Hyman, and I don't know him personally, but his colleagues trained me back and forth years and years ago at the Cleveland Clinic. And this is exactly what I studied for 6 years. And it's why I practice. And we use a couple other things. And there's protocols, of course, for specific dietary protocols for specific, conditions and health issues. But overall, absolutely, diet is related to behavior, to your health outcomes. Actually, here's a breath of fresh air. You're in 97% control of your health outcomes. Only about 3% is genetic. So that means you're in charge. What you are putting in your mouth, your diet, and how you live your life is in about 97%. Okay, is diet and lifestyle. So that is a breath of fresh air because you're in charge of how you age, how you think, how you behave, and how you end your life. Don't you want to live a long time? Like I want to live to be over 120 and have full cognitive and physical function. And so much of it has to do with diet and lifestyle. Actually, one of the doctors that trained me, Dr. Colin Campbell, professor emeritus from Cornell, him and his son, who is a medical doctor, wrote the book, The China Study. And it's not what you think it's about. It's not what you think it's about. It is the largest nutritional study on human beings in the history of mankind, basically proving that we need 90% of our calories from plants and about 10% of our calories from animals. And this is the core of our health, is diet and lifestyle choices. It's absolutely what I was trained in and what I teach and what I do in my private consultations in my practice.
Well, what about all the ADHD and hyperactivity disorder and all the rest of it? How much of the unruliness in our classrooms and the inability for kids to sit still and all of this, how much of this is diet?
Well, a lot of it, and and that's really twofold. It's number one, diet, and most people don't know that the school lunch program, and hopefully this will change with RFK Jr. and all the good people in there now that are going to put Americans first and put our children first. So the school lunch program is absolutely so deleterious. It's so bad for our kids. They actually use down cows in the lunch program, sick and down chickens. The food that we serve our children in schools is really horrendous. So I am sure that they're going to be looking at that. There's donuts and Cheerios and sugar-filled cereal bars that, our kids are eating, let alone these, sick animals for the animal protein. So it is food. And then like Dr. Hyman said, there's so many things in processed foods. Seed oils are, so damaging to your gut health, so damaging to your blood vessels. That's why we, propose eating whole foods. And the other point to that is children in the main and people in the main learn differently. And a lot of my friends and colleagues are educators, and God bless them. And they know that some kids need to really run around. They're kinesthetic learners. They need to touch and feel, and they need to run around. It's not Johnny or Susie misbehaving in the classroom. They just need recess in the morning and recess in the afternoon. And if it's raining outside or cold outside, let them run around the gym, for Pete's sake. And some students they learn auditory, they learn by hearing. Some are more visual. Sometimes these kids just need their eyes checked, their eyesight checked, their hearing checked. But diet is king. Diet is first, and then let them get exercise. A lot of them are dehydrated. I am a big proponent of let the children have a bottle of good, clean, healthy, filtered spring water on their desk. Who cares if they have to get up and ask permission and go to the restroom? Who cares? Let them be hydrated all day as well. Most of our kids, 74% of Americans are walking around dehydrated, and they drink water wrong.
74%
all
of
that together.
Americans are dehydrated.
74% are
How is
walking around.
that? How is that?
Especially, well, people drink, this sounds funny, but it's true. They drink water wrong. They drink the wrong water. A lot of people think that, so our children and the senior citizens are the two groups that are the most dehydrated. And you need mineralized water. You need water, not tap water, for heaven's sake, but you've got to get a good filter, a good black carbon filter. I drink antioxidant
So
water.
you do know we have Worldview Water here. Worldview Water,
Here you go.
water.net. And this is the filter I have under my sink, okay? And it filters out all of this, all the toxins, ammonia, lead, fluoride. They also add oxygen and magnesium to the water. So this system does. So it's taking all these pesticides and bacteria out. So I'm on the right track here, right?
Yes, you are on the right track. And where people make an error in the water is they think, and I understand their thinking here, and they drink reverse osmosis water or distilled water. Do not do that. That is dead water. You desperately need the minerals. You don't need the pesticides and chemicals and carcinogens in the water. So you can get Brandon's filter, but you don't need reverse osmosis water either. You need mineralized water. Reverse osmosis water is dead water. There's nothing in it. So your cells aren't even getting hydrated. And our cells run on plain, still filtered water, not carbonated water and not all these fancy vitamin waters, because your body sees that as food and will start digestion. So just plain water, don't put anything in it. If you want a lemon or lime in your water, put that in your water during your meal and think of that as your recreational water. Okay. So drink that lemon lime water at your meal time, but in between, make sure it's plain, still filtered water like you have.
Amazing. All right, let's go to this one. Can sugary drinks increase risk of oral cancer? Shocking study links popular drinks with deadly disease. This is a brand new article here, March 2025. A recent study discovered that drinking 1 can a day of sugary soda beverages can increase the risk of developing mouth cancer by 5 times. The study conducted by researchers from the University of Washington, published in JAMA, is what came up with this. And it goes on to talk about amid the rising cases of oral cavity cancer, especially in young people who do not drink or smoke, have no other evident risk factors. Scientists suggest that diet may play a major role. Comment on this, because we know people that drink so many Cokes and whatnot. I went out to dinner the other night, my wife and I did over the weekend, with a friend of ours, and it's a husband and wife we've been friends with for many, many years, raised our kids together. And toward the end of the evening, the waitress came over and said, "Would you guys like anything?" And the wife said, "Yes, I would like one more Diet Coke, please." And the husband said, "Yes, that would be number 9 she's had tonight." And I didn't say anything. No one else, my wife didn't say anything. But later I was like, wow, she was downing those Diet Cokes. I'm worried about the substitute, the sugar. I've never drank the diet stuff because I didn't want all that sweetener in there. I didn't trust that sweetener, right? I avoid Coca-Colas and stuff like that for the most part anyway, but I don't drink any of that stuff that's got that fake sugar in it. Right or wrong? What are your thoughts?
Oh no, you're right again. And the sugar, first of all, and a lot of people say, well, I'm just going to drink a regular Coke or regular Pepsi or regular root beer because, oh, that fake sugar is bad, which that's true. But the real sugar is so damaging to your gut health. And there's a gut-brain connection. People get headaches, they get brain fog, they get fatigue, they get muscle aches, joint pain because of sugar. And it starts to chip away at the lining of your gut wall, and your gut and your brain communicate. And if you notice, if you eat a lot of sugar, when you wake up in the morning, and I don't care how old you are, you might be in your 20s, 30s, 50s, 80s, 90s. If you eat a lot of sugar, you have a hard time moving. If you will remove sugar from your diet, I promise you that you're going to start to notice things like, oh my gosh, my fingers move better, my toes, my knees don't hurt as much, because that sugar is, first of all, it's spiking insulin. but it's chipping away at the gut lining. So it's destroying your good gut bacteria. Your gut communicates with your brain. 70% of your immune system's in your gut. Sugar is just a bad player. And yes, cancer cells feed on glucose, on sugar, but they also feed on cholesterol, on fat. So all the seed oils and all that junk is bad. And then the sugar is bad. And the artificial sweeteners are just that. They are artificial. They are chemicals that you are putting in your body. And so many people, I've had patients over the years that we just took them off of either diet pop they were drinking or the soda pop that they were drinking. I had somebody lose 8 pounds in the first, like less than 10 days. It was like less than a week and a half. They lost 8 pounds, like in about a week. And we just pulled that out and I drink iced tea. Make iced tea, and you can sweeten it with stevia, organic stevia, or monk fruit. That's natural plant-based sugar.
What about honey? I drink a lot of green tea and I sweeten it with honey.
Be careful with the honey. And it's because honey is good. No, here's the thing. I know. Local honey is amazing. Local honey really is amazing. So if you want like a tablespoon of honey or teaspoon of local honey, it is like God's elixir, right? Made by those beautiful bees. But you don't want to have lots of honey in drinking in a drink every single day. It's really high in sugar, like molasses is high in sugar, honey's high in sugar, agave is high in sugar. But yes, local honey is, I call it like.
Well, what's the sugar substitute you just named?
Stevia or monk fruit.
So those are not bad.
No, they are plant-based. I have stevia in my house, and I'll tell you, and I get nothing for this, I like Trader Joe's organic liquid stevia. I put a couple drops. I have a cup of organic coffee in the morning, just not because I need the energy, because I take my Gatatana and glutathione and Bellagrace. But I love a cup of organic coffee in the morning. It's just a routine for me. And I'll put a couple drops of Trader Joe liquid organic stevia. But we have to start thinking, how do we remove these toxins from our body? How do we get nutrients in our cells, and how do we eat better? And I just work with my patients and, privately, and I help them honestly. The trick is to learn to make delicious meals with whole food that you're like, oh my gosh, this is wonderful.
Well, look at this. People are dying. While this type of cancer, this oral cancer, was typically linked to older men who indulged in tobacco, alcohol, betel nut chewing, and other common cancer threats, cancer cases related to them have been declining, especially in Western countries. According to about 377,713 cases of oral cancer and 177,757 deaths were recorded in 2020. So people getting oral cancer from these sweeteners and the sugary drinks, it's not good. All right, let's go over here to this. Georgia man wins $2 billion. I don't know what I said earlier, but whoa, that's billion with a B. In Roundup weed killer lawsuit as governor weighs law to protect chemical makers from liability. A jury found that Bayer, which bought Roundup maker Monsanto in 2018, failed to warn users of years of scientific evidence that exposure to Roundup could cause cancer. The verdict rocked Bayer's investors, driving down the German company's shares more than 8% on Monday. This is an article dated today, March 25th, 2025. I have said to my family, look, yeah, I know you don't want weeds, but don't use Roundup. No Roundup. If there are other things you can use. I don't give gardening advice here, but you can use certain types of salt like you use in a pool that you get at a pool store and sprinkle it around to kill weeds and stuff, but stay away from the Roundup. That's my policy at our house.
Oh, absolutely. I have been teaching this for years. Roundup it's glyphosate. Okay, it's glyphosate. That is that toxic weed killer. That is Roundup, and it is linked to irritable bowel syndrome. It is linked to birth defects. It's linked to cancers of the gut. It's linked to high blood pressure. And I tell everybody, you have got, that's why I just constantly preach, if you will, about the glutathione and the Gatatana, because you have got to daily detox these weed killers out of your system. And you know what, my friends, we can't escape it. Roundup, glyphosate has been sprayed on our food. It was registered in the United States of America. I believe the year is 1974. You look, in the 70s, they said it's okay to spray this toxic chemical all over our food. And you know what Roundup is sprayed on? Sweet potatoes, carrots, quinoa, corn, cotton for your clothing, and it's sprayed all over the world. And the worst countries are the United States, the UK, Western affluent nations. And Roundup, glyphosate goes in the cells of the food. So you really cannot wash or cook off glyphosate from your fruits and vegetables. So it's why I tout the swishing of the glutathione twice a day. That is the only molecule, and God put glutathione in every cell, in every plant, in every animal, that will remove every single toxin, chemical, heavy metal, glyphosate, and peroxynitrite from your cell phones, from your body. Glutathione is the only molecule that will remove all of it. And you talk about children and people in prisons that are acting terribly and acting out and have horrible behavior and ADD and ADHD. When you can pull heavy metals from the brain, when you can pull toxins from the cells, your body starts to balance, behavior starts to normalize. And then if you eat good whole food and you just cut out sugar and cut out soda pop, whether it be sugar-filled or diet, oh my gosh, you would be on your way to feeling better, thinking better, and acting better. Just with the glutathione, Gatatana, get rid of sugar and all kind of soda pop. And the carbonation is awful for your gut as well.
Okay, any other final topic you want to bring up? I brought up my topics. Do you have any?
I will, we talked about the brain and taking medications and all of that. I am going to share, we could talk more about this next time, but I am going to share briefly one of the most life-altering stories I have ever heard. And a patient of mine said, I've got to talk to you on the phone. So I talked with them. We've been friends for 16 years. She's been my patient for over a decade. She herself was walking with a cane, started doing glutathione a couple times a day and spraying the glutathione skin spray. And a couple weeks later, wasn't walking with the cane. About 6 weeks later, went back to work part-time. Her best friend is where the story comes in. My patient's best friend's adult daughter in her early 50s has Lewy body dementia. I'm not making any health claims at all, but we talked about the brain and what pharmaceuticals do to the brain and what sugar does to the brain and glyphosate does to the brain and the body. Well, this poor lady has Lewy body dementia, and she's the adult daughter. So the mom's in her 70s, the daughter's in her 50s. The daughter screamed and screamed and screamed at the top of her lungs, just so much so she had to be put in an institution. Before Christmas, they called the 70-something mom and said, the parents, and said, you have to come get your daughter. Like, we are losing all of our other residents. We cannot help her. We cannot care for her. She screams 24/7, and she only slept like every fourth night. Can you imagine? Ooh. Devastating. Long story short, and I can get in more detail next time, but the doctors told the mom, she said, could I please, I have this glutathione. Could I please just give my daughter, let her just get a syringe and put a couple teaspoons in her mouth regularly? The doctor said, oh no, that might interfere with her medications. Not true, but of course. So what happened, as God would have it, she got so bad, the parents had to bring her home. They were at their wits' end. Can you imagine? Long story short, hospice was there to care for her because they said their daughter was going to die in weeks. So when you're on hospice, the mom asked the hospice nurses, she goes, I have this glutathione and I have this the brain swish, and I know it's safe. It's God put glutathione in your body. Can I please get a syringe and put this in my daughter's mouth and just see what happens. I'll give her this, and a few minutes, 5 minutes later, I'll give her the brain neuro swish. The hospice nurses said, of course, you can give your daughter anything she wants. We're here to keep her comfortable. Her life is ending. This is horrible, but we're here to help you, help your daughter, give her anything you want. Do you know 30 days later, this was December 23rd, 2024, 30 days later. Now the woman was given her glutathione, and about 5 minutes later, a syringe, like 2 teaspoons, 1 to 2 teaspoons of the neuro, about 7 times a day, like every 2 hours. 30 days later, she stopped screaming. And she was in a fetal position. And the last thing I'm gonna say, she was in a fetal position, Lewy body dementia. The hospice nurses could not pull her arms away. And she was in the fetal position and screaming and screaming and screaming. The screaming stopped in 30 days. In 3 months, she is sitting up in a chair, feeding herself, wiping her mouth. Her arms go out like this. She still babbles a little bit. I spoke with her on the phone 2 weeks ago, the mom and the daughter. And she's like, this is Dr. Lana. I had tears in my eyes. And you know what this woman said to me? The woman with dementia, she said, if you want me to help you, I'll help you.
Wow.
And I think she meant, and the mom, I have permission from the mom to share her story. And she is forming small sentences. And the mom said, every day there is a little improvement in my daughter's life.
Amazing.
And I have never heard a story like that ever in all my years.
Well, this really leads to my last question I had for you, because I got to tell you, I have struggled for years with allergies. Okay. But I have to also tell you, and I'm not making this up, since getting on Bella Grace, since getting on Numi, and since getting on Gatatana, my affliction with my allergies has drastically decreased, okay? For years, I suffered with allergy headaches over one eye and in the eye. I'm talking allergy headaches that would make me want to throw up. I felt nauseous. I'd have to lay down because I become nauseous. And I could get them in the morning, wake up, have one through the night, wake up with it, didn't sleep well at all because I had such a massive allergy headache. And when my wife and I both will get this with the temperature changes or when a storm comes in. When the barometric pressure changes, we can tell because it starts to impact, you get stuffy, you get a little headache. But I used to get them so badly that they would start out in the night, in the morning wake up with one, but through the day it would get so bad that I would have to stop work and go to bed and lay down for hours trying to get rid of it. So as a result, I started taking Benadryl. And I started taking Benadryl every night for years. Well, now, voila, study shows January 9th, this is Harvard Health, common anti-allergenic drugs like Benadryl linked to increased dementia risk. So I've been saying to my wife for the last month, I'm really quite bothered by that because I took so much Benadryl every night for so many years. And now you're telling me that the answer to my question I was going to ask you was, what can I do to offset that? I think you just told me that it's the lady that had such advanced dementia who saw drastic improvements by switching with this. So you're saying if any of the people in the audience are concerned about this or have taken a lot of Benadryl and they want to try to offset that negative, this is it.
Absolutely. And the thing with the glutathione, and we're not making a health claim, but this is the fastest, most safest, affordable, effective way to get glutathione in your cells ever in the world. And we die without glutathione. We can't breathe without it. This is the NeuroSwish. I'm certified with the American Brain Council. They have approved and certified these products. The American Brain Council does not approve. I think they've only approved 5 products, maybe 6 now. I know David Larson, the director of education over there. And if you don't have a pacemaker, you could take the Brain Swish. If you're not on blood thinners, you can take it. And if you don't have a sensitivity to caffeine, arginine, or ginkgo biloba, this is safe. But if you have a pacemaker or you're on blood thinners or you're sensitive to caffeine, arginine, or ginkgo biloba, the NeuroSwish would not be for you. I will tell you, my mother swishes with this 3 to 4 times a day, and she swishes with the NeuroSwish once a day. You want to do the neuro once or twice a day before 3 p.m. because it is like a light switch for your brain. And this lady, we're not making claims, but the lady that her daughter has Lewy body dementia, she just intuitively, you need to keep them about 5 minutes apart. She'd give her the glutathione and then give her the microscopic brain swish. And she does that about 7 times a day. But this is detoxing the whole body from toxins, heavy metals, chemicals, even, your Benadryl. So the pharmaceutical drugs, it pulls the drugs out. And this just helps support the brain. And then what the Gatatana does, and she's giving her daughter Gatatana, this is God's food. It's God's food. And you know what happened to all those people in Canada, hundreds of thousands of people. So this is God's food. A scoop of this every day or 2 scoops of the Gatatana every day is getting microscopic food into your cells. That's the problem. We have clogged cell membranes, and it doesn't matter how much medication or hormones or all kind of things that you take. If it's not getting in the cells, and if your food isn't getting in the cells, and toxins aren't getting out of the cells, and hormones aren't getting out, you are not going to feel better. But I can't say, I thank God every day that doctors, medical doctors, and my patients in some cases told me about these products.
Fascinating. Well, we love our health chats with you every Tuesday. We love them. Thank you so much. Let's promote her organization, inspiredbywellness.com, if I remember correctly. Yeah, inspiredbywellness.com. And we're looking forward to having you as a keynote speaker at our national conference coming up in October here in the Mid-South.
I can't wait. It's my honor.
Thank you, Dr. Lana.
Thank you.
Dr. Lana checking in. And folks, if you want to know about any of these products, just remember we have them here at worldviewtube.com/sponsors, worldviewtube.com/sponsors. So you can find the Gatatana there, you can find the Bella Grace there, and of course you can find the Numi right there as well, worldviewtube.com/sponsors. So did you guys hear this story? I mean, I've been following it because Gene Hackman was an amazing actor. And this story is just so weird. Gene Hackman's huge mistake before his shock death, his major battle over his $80 million estate looms. Now, as I read through this, I'm finding out that a lot of the people that he had listed to take care of his estate, should he die, the trustees, Mr. Hackman did pick successor trustees, but the people he picked all passed away before he did, says one individual, which really brings up the whole issue of being proactive, as they say. It's a common proactive step in high-stake estates, especially when multiple deaths or complex family dynamics are involved. Somebody clearly did not update the estate or the will, the living trust for a long time. I don't know about you guys, and I'm going to be joined now by Chris Bowman and Dean Haskin. Gentlemen, welcome. I don't know about you guys, but I find that with my attorneys, they're great guys. I have a litigation attorney, I have a intellectual property attorney, I have a corporate attorney, and then I have my tax attorney, and then I have an accountant. And I find that with all of them, I have to drive the bus. I'm not intimidated by their degrees. And I tell them what I want, what I expect, what I'm looking for. I listen to them because they're the expert in that field. But there's many times where I felt like, no, we need to go and do this, and here's why I think we need to do this. And they're like, well, that would be good. If that's what you want to do, we'll go do that. I mean, there's many times when my estate plan and everything, it was driven by me, you know. Have you guys experienced that too, that you've had to drive the bus with a lot of these professionals? Because clearly somebody here was not driving the bus. They left it up to the professionals, and the professionals, you know, I don't know what they did or didn't do, but somebody should have been screaming and hollering to family members, to somebody, to her, his wife, that right now, if both of you die, you're in big trouble because all of your people have died that are supposed to run your trust. But let me start with that first question, Chris. Do you find that too many people let their professional experts drive the bus instead of them driving the bus?
That's actually one of the problems, right? You got to advocate for yourself, number one. And number two, when you put together a plan, it's not a one and done deal, right? There's changes that happen to your life, especially in estate planning. And this isn't the exception, it's the norm. Michael Jackson did the same thing. He's paid money to have a whole estate plan put together and never funded it. Howard Hughes died intestate, without anything in place. And Joe Robbie, who owned the Miami Dolphins, had a fire sale the team and the stadium within 9 months of death to pay the federal estate tax. So this isn't normal. This isn't abnormal. Gene put a plan together. He had successor trustees in place. In this case, it was his wife, Betsy, and she passed. And then there was nobody to update. He didn't have any backup successor trustees. And then what happens when you don't have a backup? You go to probate.
Yeah, and it says he picked all people. The people he picked, so plural, more than her, they all passed away. It makes you wonder if the plan hadn't been updated in 10 plus years, Dean.
Well, that's exactly it, House. And it just speaks volumes. Look, it's terribly unfortunate what happened. And you're right, Gene Hackman was a tremendous actor. It just goes to show you that this is not a problem that it's something that we all are going to have to deal with at some point. It talks about, actually, in the article that you have there, that a lot of people look at estate planning and things of that nature as being only for the wealthy. And one of the things they stress in the article is that, no, this is for everybody, because if you don't have a plan in place, then if something adverse like this occurs, you're going to have to fall. You're going to basically fall into the same situation where your stuff is going to be put before the court. And yeah, in his case, there's multiple changes of the people who were listed as his trustees or heirs, the people who were supposed to be taking care of things. I mean, everybody around him was dying. His big problem was he outlived everybody to some extent. And House, this is why the timeliness of when we started working with Chris and brought him on board and brought him on your show, so that your viewers and people who have been following you for quite some time now could hear this message and hopefully take advantage of it. I think back to when we were talking earlier. We started working with you 16 years ago, telling your supporters, telling your listeners and viewers that they should be diversified and buy gold, put some gold in their portfolio as a hedge, as something to protect themselves with. And when we did that, the price of gold was $833 an ounce. Yeah. You're looking at the price of gold today over $3,000 an ounce. And, it's already, in fact, up this year, I believe, somewhere around 16%. And this is no different. It's a different area, what Chris is talking about as far as estate planning and taxes, but it's the same thing. You're encouraging your viewers to be supportive of you by way of contacting people like us so they can learn about this. And those who have done so, it's been tremendously beneficial. And I swear, I hope that people really see this message. We couldn't have asked for this to have really played itself out the way it did, to have such a high profile situation that speaks to what this is now, I think, our second or third program that we've had on this topic with you.
Yeah. Well, it looks like he had not updated his will since 2015 in the article. What's very interesting is, look at this. The timing of the couple's death is important because under the New Mexico law, had they died within 120 hours of each other, their deaths would have been classified as simultaneous. This may have impacted how the estates of Hackman and his wife were divided. But given the investigators found Hackman lived for 7 days after his wife, based on his pacemaker activity, those provisions would not apply. And his estate may be divided among his beneficiaries other than his wife, experts said. Explain this to me, please, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, when you die kind of intestate, which you don't have and he didn't leave anybody there, then it goes to the courts to make those decisions. You want to, at all costs, especially with spending the money to put a plan in place, which he did. He had all the documents in place. Everything was good. He just didn't follow up and update it accordingly. And when you don't update it and there's no beneficiary in place, or there's no successor trustee in place, then the courts will decide where that money goes. And I heard that he specifically left his children out of it. Now it will open up the door for the children to contest the estate, and the courts will decide. And to tell you the truth, I'm not an attorney. I've worked on probably 2,200 estate plans with attorneys for our clients. And I think that probably children will have a good shot at maybe getting some part or all of the estate. So,
Yeah, well, so the word the word of the day here is preparation and follow-up. That's two words. Preparation and follow-up. Prepare your documents, but then follow up and keep them updated. Correct?
Without question. Like I said before, it's not a one and done. Your successor trustees may change. Your powers of attorney may change. Your estate plan is not just a will or a trust. It's powers of attorney for healthcare and financial. It's living wills and your intentions of life support. And it's making sure Michael Jackson put a beautiful trust together and then never funded it. So all of it went to probate.
What does that mean, never funded it? He never put any assets in there.
Never put any assets in it. His home wasn't in it. His property wasn't in it. He didn't title his bank accounts in the name of the trust. He didn't put the trust as his beneficiaries of his retirement accounts. And then what happens? The courts, they leave it up to the courts to decide where all that goes. And certainly, if you knew my story, I told it on your show the first time I was on it. My father died in a tragic motorcycle accident. He was a executive president of a worldwide conglomerate, and you think he would have everything together, and unfortunately he didn't. He died in a motorcycle accident, and we spent 3.5 years in the probate courts. So I can tell you from personal experience, having all those documents in place, and we had to make decisions on turning off life support, where to bury him, how to bury him, whether to donate his organs, and then spent 3.5 years in the probate courts. All could have been avoided with the right planning.
Gosh. All right. How can people get, I guess 602-807-1411 if they want to get a hold of you, or prospectwealthadvisors.com, right?
Absolutely. That's great. We'd love to talk to them.
How about you, Dean? Want to make a closing comment?
I also like to say, House, everything Chris said is spot on. I mean, the funny thing is, like Michael Jackson, it just shows if you do not have the right people who are in place, who are taking care of things for you. And that's where, I'm so grateful for the relationship that you and I have forged over the years, where, without a shadow of a doubt, when people contact us, they're going to be taken care of. And I know that that's a very important thing to you, and that's why we do take care of them. And same thing with Chris. He knows without beyond a shadow of a doubt that this is an issue that everybody needs to take care of. And they can be confident in knowing that in contacting Chris. Chris knows that this is something that you believe in him, and that the people that are watching this program who know you, when you direct them to Chris, they're going to be taken care of.
If someone, I'm sorry to interrupt, but if someone has even, I don't want people to think you have to have a big estate. If someone has a house, they've worked their whole life to pay off, and they have a house, and they don't have it in a trust and have specific instructions of where it's to go, be sold, how the funds are dispersed, then they've got a problem too. It's going to end up where they don't want it to go, or the family members who have to go to court are going to end up spending a lot of that money that could have gone to helping with their grandkids' college, or helping with the retirement of their child who's now maybe themselves an older adult. The wonderful things that it could have gone for to help the family is now going to go to attorneys. So even if you don't have a big estate, but you have assets and a house that's paid off, you better be thinking this way. And you can do this for as little as $1,000 for them. Is that right, Chris?
We do. And we have done for 20 years now. So.
And House, to that example you just gave with House, the example of the house, a lot of people, they are just living their life and they believe, okay, well, if something happens to me, that house will fall into to my wife, my spouse, or vice versa. If the spouse dies, if the wife dies, it goes to the husband. But heaven forbid, what if they're both in a car wreck together? Now what? Now neither of them are alive, and if they don't have the right things in place, where does that asset go? And maybe they have kids or grandkids that now are stuck in court trying to sort that mess out. And Lord knows if they even have money to go to court and sort that stuff out. There's so many issues with it, and so much of it is avoidable. It really is completely avoidable for everyone.
I have a trust, and a lot of people in our audience do as well. And I was talking last year to a guy. He's an older gentleman for sure. But this guy has hundreds of acres, not to mention his business, which is big. And he's got hundreds of acres on top of it. And I said something about my trust, and he said, tell me about your trust. And we're talking like, where are? He's like, I said, you don't have a trust? And he said, it just goes to my wife. And he named his wife. If something happened to me, it goes to my wife. And I'm thinking to myself, well, what happens if you're both killed? Because they drive around in a car together.
That's right.
And I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be a mess to watch. A big business with hundreds of acres and some property and real estate. And this guy who is very successful, I mean, he would have a high net worth. And he hasn't even thought about setting up a trust. I mean, actually, he said he thought about it. He said, I should do that. I've been thinking about that. I'm like, what are you talking about thinking? You are advanced in age and you have a lot of assets. There should be no thinking here. You should have pulled the trigger on this a long time ago.
You know, only 19% of people have an estate plan. So 81% of the population doesn't have an estate plan in place. So that just goes to show you how many people ignore it, or maybe they think death is, they don't want to talk about it. But in doing so, you're creating tremendous amount of problems, taxation issues, problems with your state, transition of assets. And it, like Dean said, it could all be avoided. And you said earlier in the show that you have to advocate for yourself. You know, these people aren't being proactive about calling you up and saying, hey, I saw that Betsy, like in Hackman's place, I saw Betsy, you know, passed away, or you became incapacitated. The second that there is incapacity or dementia, then that trust, you know, there should have been things in place to update his trust, and she should have gotten together with the lawyer immediately, because she would have had to step in as his power of attorney anyway and start to make decisions for him. And that's when that estate should have been updated for sure.
Really sad. All right, well, don't let it happen. And the bottom line I want to stress is you can help people do this for as little as $1,000.
That's correct.
Okay, 602-807-1411, 602-807-1411, prospectwealthadvisors.com.
By the way, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I didn't want to miss the fact.
Hey, you know what? We're even. We've now interrupted each other twice, so we're even.
I'd encourage people that are tuned in and listening to the show. The phone call is free. So you may be saying, well, I don't want to spend $1,000. What am I getting for $1,000? You don't know what you're getting. You don't know what you're not getting at this point, but make the phone call and have a few questions answered. And then if nothing else, at that point, you want to make the decision to not do it, so be it. I don't know why you would, but the phone call is free. And I really would encourage people to contact Chris, because again, this couldn't have been a better example. Indeed. What happened with Gene Hackman.
Absolutely. Let me show you, by the way, our new website, Worldview Gold. We just launched that last night. Worldview Gold.
Wow.
All about Swiss America. My relationship with them for 16 years is there. And it gives all the information about Swiss and what you get with them. So I wanted to show this to you, Dean. And then they go down here and they fill out the information and get the free no obligation packet. Let me ask you on a side note here. Where do you think gold is going this year by year's end? I'm not going to hold you to it, but just a guess. Where do you think it's going?
No, well, here's the beauty of that. And, you know, the podcast that I do, a few of each week when we talk about gold, the beauty of where the market is right now, there are so many other people saying what it's going to do. I just quote them now. But the low end for the year is, I would say, predominantly for people who kind of are weighing in on it, about 3,500 an ounce when you're looking at roughly 3,000 right now. And there are some, though, that are talking about, you know, as aggressive as 4,000, 4,500, and even more than that. There's a lot of moving parts in our economy right now. There is a lot of vulnerabilities in our economy right now. Central banks are buying it up left and right. Governments are buying it up left and right. Institutions, individual investors. I mean, it's just, it has all the ingredients for what you want out of a market that's going to improve or increase in value. So, you know, I think that 3,500 is a very comfortable range. And I got to tell you, like we told people in the beginning of 2024, when it was 2,000 an ounce, that it was a great time to buy. And a year later, you're looking at it basically at $1,000 more an ounce. So it's on the move, and I don't see that stopping, House.
Yeah, and putting gold in your IRA is another great option, right?
It's an excellent option. People have been doing. It's one of the main focuses or main areas of interest people have right now, because they've worked hard. Your IRA is your retirement account. They worked hard their entire life. They don't want to see what they put away just evaporate. And there's a lot of evaporation going on in our economy right now.
Mm-hmm. And I want to stress, you're the CEO of Swiss America. The company's been around since 1982. You're a debt-free company, correct?
Correct.
And you guys have never missed a buyback since you were founded in 82. Is that right?
Correct. I would tell you we have the most comprehensive buyback in the industry, in fact.
What does that mean?
Many people in our business, they are more of they'll sell you the product, they'll buy it on an as-needed basis or as they're able to buy it, if you will, depending on who knows what. Meaning, like what their financial situation is at the time, if they've done enough sales to do some liquidations. We don't have any caveats there. If somebody needs to liquidate a product, we're here, and it's a very, very quick process through an IRA. In fact, we do a lot of that through people who have to take distributions, et cetera. And even though they have physical metal, they literally have payment in hand within a day. So it's one of the more liquid and soluble type assets you'll find in that regard.
Absolutely. Worldviewgold.com to get the free no obligation packet, and then call Chris, folks, to find out about getting your finances squared away so you don't end up like poor Gene Hackman and his wife and their estate and their kids and family and everybody. Ugh, what a lesson for all of us. As always, gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you, House. Pleasure.
Thank you, my friends. All right, again, folks, also check out worldviewgold.com, our brand new, beautiful website. Find out about taking custody of precious metals or putting it in your IRA. And it'll sit in a vault in Delaware. And then you can take a taxable event at some point if you want and take custody, or cash it in as you need and get a check. You can find out all the details about this. Go there and fill out the information. Get the free packet right there. Just click more information. It'll bring you right to the bottom where you fill out the form, send it in. No obligation there. Free, no obligation packet, worldviewgold.com. All right, folks, before we go, look, I do it every day. I take it every day. I may have already had one today. I don't know. But I cannot recommend it highly enough. From my own personal experience, my hands don't crack and bleed. They cracked and bled for years. I have the pictures to prove it. Dr. Lucky says it's from I had a leaky gut, which makes sense because this is loaded with collagen and your gut lining is lined with collagen. And I got on this elixir, available at millshousebg.com, loaded with collagen that has the peptides cut short. And within a matter of weeks, my hands cleared up. So apparently it took care of my leaky gut. My hair growth has been incredible. Logan has the pictures to prove it. He was actually joking one day about it, laughing about it, and said, then Dad, I came across a picture of you a couple years ago. I'm like, he's like, your hair was thinning. I'm like, I know it was. And my wife comments, the gal that cuts my hair comments on it, how thick it is. And then, so you not only have the collagen, you have the cat's claw, which is an anti-inflammatory, which, by the way, will take off some of the puffiness in your face. So you want to look like you've lost weight without losing weight? This will actually help you do it because it'll take away the inflammation in your face. And then you have the astaxanthin, which is loaded with antioxidants to take on the free radicals. So I highly recommend it. It's a great way to support our network. Get a subscription so it shows up every month, and don't waste any of it. Roll it up like a tube of toothpaste so you don't lose any of it. I highly recommend it. And that's all there is to it right there. All right. MelissaHouseBG.com. Great way to support us and your health at the same time. And of course, don't forget about WorldviewFoundation.com. WorldviewFoundation.com. Again, we are looking for more regular monthly contributors. So please consider setting up a contribution. $10 a month, $20 a month, whatever you can do. Some of you can do a lot more. And we sure appreciate all of you, regardless of how much you give, how often you give. We take it seriously, and we want to keep, doing our mission statement, which is to produce Christian worldview programming and pushing it out as a public service and educational service and ministry broadcast. And that's what we're doing, and our foundation helps us do that. So thank you for your support. Till next time, I'm Brandon House. May God save America. Take care. Hello, I'm Brandon House. Melissa and I have been taking Bella Grace, this powerful elixir, since last fall, 2023. The results have been amazing. My hands would crack and bleed, deep cuts and cracks every winter for years. No matter what we did, we couldn't get them to stop cracking and bleeding. This year, I took Bella Grace, no cracking, no bleeding. My acid reflux, gone. Haven't had to take a Pepsid. My hair growth, the last 2 times I had my hair cut, the lady had to use thinning sheets.
Faith, spiritual values, moral issues, government, economy, education, work, responsibility. What we think about these depends on our worldview. Now, VCY America presents Worldview Radio with Brandon House.
And welcome to the broadcast on this March 25th, 2025. March 25th. 2025. I want to talk to you today about, well, something I've been thinking a lot about for about a week now. You guys will remember I did a series last week on feminism, Marxism, the goal to destroy the free market system.